Boom! What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for some reason, this program that I'm using has been cutting off a lot of, not a lot, but a chunk of the comments in the beginning. So I did not get to see who was first today, but I'm going to assume it was Spook Round 4Q, who's always first in the building. So I'm going to say, Spook Round 4Q, you are first, even though I don't know for sure because a bunch of comments are getting cut off. I don't know why that is. I'm going to have to look into that. Divine Existence, I saw your the comment. I just saw it today. I'm definitely going to jump on that. Thank you so much. Let me make this smaller. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. Uh, let's see, Gregory Nettis, what up? Floetry One, what up? Y'all get in here talking about cereal? Y'all be having some ill conversations, bro. Honey Bunches of O's is a favorite of mine. I like life cereal. I like simple cereal, actually. I don't really eat cereal anymore, but I used to. Abel Valdez says, if I recall correctly, I was the first to suggest us having a meet and greet here and have you DJ the event. I don't remember, but you probably was. If we had a meet and greet, I probably wouldn't DJ though. I probably would, chill so I could talk. Um, Spook Realm says Redman versus Busta Rhymes. Who you got? Wow, and both of them are my brothers. Uh, I'm a huge, you guys know I'm a huge Reggie Noble fan. He's in my top five favorite MCs of all time. But a versus, I would have to look at that a little closer. My favorite is always Redman because, and I love Buster as well. Just Redman has been my favorite for a long time, ever since his first album, ever since before his first album came out. Biz used to play me tapes of Redman before Redman came out, murdering it in like block parties. Um, let's see. John Walker, what's up? Ilroy, what's up? Uh, Supreme Divine, Uh, JT, what's up? Corey Flood, what's up? Uh, this came across my feed, but I didn't really get a chance to look at it. Kennard Roberts say, KP, what's up? Just heard DMC say they got sued for the song You Talk Too Much. The song was about run. You never shut up. Really? And they got sued? I need to look into that. Oh, that's funny, actually, to make a song about run called You Talk Too Much. Uh, let's see. Terrell McMillan, always a pleasure. What's good? I see all the regulars. MK Ultra. Come down, Kenny Parker. Yes. Um, MMA Crossfire. What's up? El Tico Loco. What's up? Chef Daddy. What's up? Oreo 1873. What's up? Dan Marasuti. What's up? I see some people's in the comments laughing because I quite often butcher people's names. I apologize if I butchered anybody's name. Um, I'm just reading them here as I see it. I'm trying to move quick and I'm making excuses. Sometimes I just butcher names, man. Um, Anthony Augusto said there's a video out I saw. The 6 artists that KRS didn't like the most. Did you see that? I didn't see that. I don't believe those things. People be making up stuff. Don't believe that kind of stuff. They named Nelly, Big, LL, and X Clan. I think it was interesting. I don't think that's true. First of all, I can't think of an MC who Chris hates or didn't, let me say, didn't like. Like I don't like that dude. Like when I see him, it's it's we've had beefs with people, but they all, even X Clan. I talk about that beef. I know you all saw it on this channel. That ended up being resolved, and KRS and Brother Jay even made a record together. Um, KRS and LL always had their back and forths, but I saw the other day they was talking and chilling. So I don't think there's animosity towards LL from KRS. I've never heard, Chris talk about, FLL or nothing like that. Big, Chris had no relationship with Big at all. So I don't even know if they liked or disliked. I think they met a couple times. Even Nelly, him and Nelly even had a conversation and worked together. Nelly did, I believe, a verse. KRS had a Stop the Violence project back in like '08 or '07, something like that. And I think Nelly even came through and did a verse. So I don't even think there's beef there. Doesn't seem like he hold a grudge. I would hold more grudges than him. Um, but don't believe that. I don't. Did Kara say these are the people he don't like? If he said it, then it's true. If he didn't actually say it, I don't believe it. Takashi Mandela, where you been? What's up? Haven't seen you in a long time. Oh wait, this thing went off. Let me come back. Yeah, you go. DJ Kenny Parker, peace, my brother, peace. I got a good one. List your all-time favorite interludes. Oh my God. De La Orgy was funny. Mace got a couple. What's the one where he says, I got John Blaze, the mad rapper is going, I got John Blaze-ish. I felt like that a bunch of times, and I've played beats that people didn't like, and I was hating. I got John Blaze-ish. I always thought that was funny. And the one with Mace when he's on the phone talking to the girl and he get the wrong, he was going back and forth on a call waiting and got the girls' names mixed up. And that's why she said, I liked Puffy better than you anyway. I thought that was funny. Big had a skit, and I believe it's Little Kim talking, even though she wasn't, we didn't know who she was at the time, but she was talking about Big. She's on the machine. She said, I was waiting for you downstairs. Somebody tried to rob me. And she said, somebody tried to rob me. She sounds so Brooklyn. I believe it's Little Kim. I thought that was funny. Um, Method Man and Wu-Tang when he says feeding you and feeding you and feeding you. I thought that was funny. I'm just thinking of a few off the top of my head. That's a great question. These are just off the top of my head that I can remember. I'm sure there's more. Oh man. I'm pretty sure there's more. I just can't think of it right now because there's been some ones that have made me laugh. I'm gonna leave it at that for now. But yeah, there's been some that's made me laugh. I'm gonna leave that one there. Great question though. CMC's techniques in class. Thank you so much for your contribution as usual to the channel. Much appreciated. Says salute DJ KP and happy birthday to the Blast Master. Yes, KRS-One's birthday was on the 20th of August, and he turned the big 6-0. Let's see if I can move a little quick. Sydney Rhodes, what up? Engage VR YouTube channel, what up? Patrick Wide, my brother, what's good? Um, I don't recognize this name. Fist Music. KP, Boston, peace. Peace to Boston. We got a lot of shows out there. Uh-oh. Let me see if I can get my vocals together. Anyway, what's up? Hey KP, I hear you're sounding much better. Thank you. I'm still a little nasally, but way better than I was last week. That was one of the worst colds I've ever had in my life. Every symptom you could possibly think of, I had all of them. But I am feeling a lot better. Thank you so much. Anyway, um, Ah, Gurginetta says, yo, Kenny, that 3 a.m. smooth was awesome. I can see Snoop Dogg on that beat. You actually did a Dr. Dre beat. Oh wow. If I did, it was inadvertent. But Dr. Dre is my favorite producer of all time, probably. So I'm sure I might have been influenced by him. For those that don't know, it's 3 a.m. Smooth is a track that I dropped on Sunday. It's part of my beat series. I'm pulling out a lot of the old beats and I'm cleaning them up and digitizing them for you guys to hear and for me to have personally, because a lot of stuff are on discs and these discs are so bad and corrupted. I've probably thrown away like 10 or 15 beats that were on discs that I just can't load. Um, but some of them you can get them to load individually and I'm putting them up. So that's one of them. And I have a track that sounds just like 3 a.m. Smooth. It's very similar, not different but similar. I might put that up this week and just call it 4 a.m. Smooth. It's similar to that. It's like the cousin of that one. I might put that up. But thank you for those that's checked it out. If you haven't checked it out, please check it out. It's called 3 a.m. Smooth. It's the last beat I put up. Hype Style says, big up everyone on the show tonight. Yes. Be well, be safe, especially the folks in Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Detroit. Yeah, that situation in D.C. frightens me tremendously. Tremendously. And there's some people that's applauding that. They don't see the bigger picture. Beyond the Matrix says, what's good, KP? I finished your book today. Thank you so much. I'm a must read for everyone. I appreciate that. Says KP, you owe me a box of Kleenex. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed the story, and I'm glad you got to feel the emotion of everything that happened. If you don't have the book, get the book. And as Spook Realm says, please pick up the book. The link is in the description below. And Spook Realm also says hit the like button. If you get a chance, y'all, while you're just watching, please hit the like button because it helps the algorithm. Um, the summer is coming to an end. People are going to start getting back on their computers, and we want to build the family. So please hit the like button when you get a chance. And yes, I do owe you a box of Kleenex Beyond the Matrix. And thank you so much for picking up the book. I really appreciate it. Floetry One says, I saw that video, but it wasn't co-signed by KRS-One. Yeah, people just be making up stuff. Um, People just be making up stuff for clicks. Don't even know the artist, don't even know what they're talking about. They'll see like if someone had a beef or disagreement, that'll become an artist I dislike. I fell for that and clicked on a couple of R&B ones, and then I found out it was all BS, so I stopped even clicking on that stuff. I could do a six artists that Kenny Parker doesn't like. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but there are six that I personally don't care for. Um, David also says, Kenny, have you heard Kwame's album yet? No, but I did see the video. He has two videos. One is like a up tempo one, and one was like a slower hip hop one. I did watch that video. Big up to Kwame and his new project. A lot of artists, new artists dropping. Um, Cutie Pie 509, what's up? Uh, Yeah, Flo, she said it was done with clips and an AI specified voice. Yeah, they're just making up stuff. This internet, there's so much BS. That's one of the reasons why I started this channel, because of the amount of BS that I saw online about my own group and about things and events that I was actually there for. And I'm like, man, I was there and it didn't happen like that. Let me try to tell my story while I still can. Let's see. Let's see. Um, Jason Wall says that first Ice Cube solo album, America's Most Wanted, I believe, where the guy says he would stick up people in them Nissan trucks at the drive-thru was funny. I don't remember that. Ice Cube has some good skits too. I don't remember that one. Um, Joey Joe, what's up? MK Ultra says, "Do you know what KRS did to celebrate his 60th?" Sort of. I'm not gonna really say. I'm not gonna put that out there, but seemed like he was pretty low key. But it was he did. Like I said, I spoke to him for a couple of hours. He was on his way somewhere. Um, he's pretty low key about it. I'm pretty low key about my birthday as well. Rosmel said the Chronic had a lot of funny skits. What's the one I think it's on Snoop album where he's talking to the dude and he said something like, "We can handle this like gentlemen, or we can get into some gangster shit." Then I think the guy said something, said, "Okay, that's how you want it." Pow, pow, pow. I thought that was funny. Um, I love the Chronic album. I probably listened to that album 1,000 times. I don't really remember the skits like that though for some reason. Seemed like all the skits were connected to songs. Hype Style says at Kenny Park, a lot of these sex skits over the years really took things over the guardrails. I agree. Big had one on his last album, the double album that was I thought was really over the guardrails. I don't hear people doing them anymore, which is a good thing. I don't know if it's a good thing. People don't even listen to albums anymore. If you do a skit, would anybody even hear it? Is a skit even worth the studio time now? A skit used to be like a commercial or like a break in a whole, you're listening to a whole project. People don't even listen to whole projects, man. I'm always going to champion the skit, even though some people do take it too far. Kevin Smith says, all those Kenny just named, along with every Redman skit on every album as well. Yeah, Redman has some funny skits too. How about the skit in Redman's video with the girl riding the bike? What is that? I'll be that. And everybody's looking at her and waving, and she's looking at them, and she crashes into the back of the car. I thought that was funny. Um, yeah, Redman always had a lot of skits. BDP, we didn't have a lot of skits. Sex and Violence album, we had a couple of skits. Um, I don't recall us having a lot of skits. I am Brado said the daylight is dead read along. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a couple. This is weird. That's that Prince Paul weirdness. I think he's the one who. And I know we had Prince Paul on the show. Did he say he was the one that talked Daylight into putting skits in the first album, which set the whole thing off? Or did they have a skit and he encouraged them to do it? I can't remember which one he said was the case. Um, Shout out to Prince Paul. Love De La Soul is dead. Gregory Nettis, Nas is the 1990s. who's we know that's your favorite artist. There's been a lot of slander on Nas's name these days for no reason. Young people just jumping on using Nas as an example of what they don't like. It's crazy. I'm seeing people comparing people to Michael Jackson. It's just crazy, bro. It's such a disconnect. Such a disconnect between the young and the old. Not like it ever was. Live with Deacon Strange. Yo, KP, what's good, man? Yes, we gotta connect. I've been busy this whole week, man, and sick, but yeah. Um, I don't know about this, Gregory. Now, this says LL is the only one who came in the 80s and got more popular in the 90s. Movies, comedy show, canvas battle, etc. Oh, I'm not gonna count movies because then Will Smith would be the king of that. Will Smith was huge in the 80s, but he went to superstardom. A-list blockbuster superstar in the 90s. I thought LL was pretty huge in the 80s. Outside of Run DMC, LL might have been the biggest star, rap star of the 80s. He's definitely the biggest solo rap star of the 80s. I think people are forgetting just how huge LL Cool J really was. I mean, his movies and comedy show, they were cool, but I would say Queen Latifah got bigger in the 90s through acting. Technically, Tribe came out in the 80s and got way bigger in the 90s. Jay-Z came out in the 80s. Sweet Goldilocks, what's up? Um, let's see. David Alston, what's up? Chris Morale, that is it. What's up? Um, let's see. Dre Stack Dollars, fashionably late. What's up? Patrick Wise says, KP, did you ever cross paths on a basketball court with Sadat X? Big up Sadat X, who I got to bring back to the channel. Now that the summer's winding down, I'm going to start adding the guests on. This summer, I had a couple people scheduled, but conflict of timing. Plus, I was doing a lot. So, but it's time to bring some heads back on, especially our favorite Sadat. I played ball with Sadat in a celebrity game. As a matter of fact, I always say this: the game that Puffy had at City College in New York, or that tragic game where a lot of people uh, were demised. Um, the week before that, there was a celebrity game at that same college, and I played. Sadat played. A few other celebrities played, and that's the only time I played with him on the court. And I was supposed to come back for the game the following week, but we had a show, so I couldn't make it. Thank goodness. I heard horror stories about that. Um, but yeah, to answer your question, Sadat X, I played with him in that All-Star game. Nah, Corey Flood, I'm not giving any hints. I'm not trying to start any problems on the internet about who I don't like. It's just certain people that I have met and their attitude or whatever left a bad taste in my mouth. Or the times that I've seen certain people, for some reason, we had bad energy. And I'm the type of person, if we have bad energy, let's keep that energy going. I'm not gonna, if most 90% of the people, I'm gonna say 95, I'm gonna say 90% of the people that I've met in hip hop, especially in the 90s, which is practically everybody, was super cool. And so, and I'm the type of person that I will walk up to you and introduce myself to you if I recognize you, or if you did some body of work that I like. I will walk up to you and say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Kenny Parker from BDP, and I liked this that you did, blah, blah, blah." And most of the time, it's always been good. But a few times, I've got some pushback from people. I guess they didn't like me introducing myself or something like that. And the energy was bad. Or this is some people that just don't like BDP, and or they don't like KRS. And so when they see me, he's not necessarily there, but that same energy that they have for him gets uh, directed towards me, which is cool. Just, long as you keep it where you at, it's all good. I've never had a situation where somebody stepped to me, God forbid, but um, there's people that have had some animosity that with our crew that let it be known to me. CMC's techniques in class once again. Thank you so much. Speaking of 80s, E Double says he's back with So What You Saying podcast, 88, fresh documentary and new music. I'm with all that. I would love to get on that podcast. E Double is one of my favorite producers. EPMD is right up there with my favorite group, not over Tribe and Daylight, not over Native Tongues, but under Native Tongues. I love EPMD. Um, Seen them perform a million times. Super cool with the whole crew. Um, and Eric's sermon is mad funny to me. Like just the way he raps and the way he tells stories is just funny to me. Uh, Orrin Hamilton, what's happening, brother? Uh, Let me move down a little bit. Dartmouth, any Decepticons or low life stories? No, that's a little after my time. I believe the Deceps, and I don't know, I don't get my New York street history wrong because I wasn't part of that per se. But I believe the Deceps and Lowlifes, they were terrorizing a little like in the 90s, right? Like late 80s, early 90s, like in the 90s. We was on tour, man. I never ran into Decepticons like that or Lowlifes. Heard a lot about them. Um, Flochi says, "Yo, just in the past year and a half, I have watched YouTube become super watered down with BS content from these AI programs. Yeah, and it's only going to get worse. We're reaching a point that's coming shortly where if something doesn't happen right in front of your eyes, you can't believe it. If you're talking to someone on the phone, you hear a voice, and that person is not standing in front of you, you're not even going to be able to believe anything that's social media, uh, FaceTime, Zoom. You're not going to be able to believe anything, any news, anything. We're reaching a real dangerous point, y'all, with this AI. They should find a program or some way to identify it and keep it off of platforms like YouTube. Napoleon, what's up? People are losing the ability to discern, think, and even care. Yeah, we're desensitized to a lot of stuff. Sometimes they just sometimes they just want to react. So they gravitate to something fake because they like the idea of it being real. Yeah, that's human nature. We all love a car crash. We love to drive slow past the car wreck. We just want to see, and people like to see celebrities ruin it all. People like to see celebrities go all the way up to the top and then ruin it all. We love watching that kind of stuff. The whole gossip industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Just people talking about other people. Billions. And it's almost always negative. Nobody wants to hear so and so just built a school for homeless children or something. Nobody wants to hear that. They'd rather hear so and so is homeless. And so, and the amount of money YouTube is generating billions of dollars for creators, and people will do anything to get these clicks and likes. They'll say anything. We here at the Kenny Parker Show, we try to keep it as authentic as possible. I try to tell you things that I have seen, or if I didn't see it, my source is only one person removed. I think my source is reliable, and I like to say things that we can fact check. And if anybody, if I ever say something or we come up with something and it could be fact checked wrong, let's get it out there now. Let's say it's wrong. But yeah, people just like drama. Even after you tell them it's not real, they'll argue and say, no, it's real. It has to be real because I enjoyed it. Spook Realm says, where are the Doyle brothers? Good question. I believe Benny is working, right? No, Benny works on Fridays. Where are the Doyle brothers? Y'all slipping, man. Um, let's see. MMA says the Naughty by Nature skit just before the song Guard Your Grill. Guard Your Grill is one of my favorite records ever by Naughty by Nature, and I don't remember a skit before that. I don't even. I might have been listening to the 12-inch too much. 12-inch single. Shout out to Tretch. First time I saw Guard Your Grill, it was Tretch performed it, and he ripped it, man. People don't talk about Tretch enough, man. Redman should make a video where he got KP's headphones on. You know what? The Apollo used to record everything, all the shows. They had a crazy deep archive. I don't know who's in control of the archive now, but I'm pretty sure that that show, um, where Redman was DJing for K Solo and borrowed slash stole my headphones, is there's footage of it. If there's any footage of Redman at the Apollo DJing, he might have my headphones on. Orrin Hamilton says respect to Nas. Always respect to Nas. Anyway, he says, speaking of Snoop, how do you think his latest comments about LBGTQ in cartoons will affect his career? I saw that earlier. People already wrote him off for performing for Trump. Well, don't let me get canceled. Don't try to get me canceled on here. But I believe if he's leaning in the Trump direction, that comment will be taking perfectly well with Trump's base. Trump base will not see a problem with it at all. And the people that voted for Trump. So you got to figure what, 78 million, half the country will not have a problem with that. Now, it depends on if the other half, will step up. That community, the LBGTQ, is a strong community when they want to boycott and get things done. So we'll see. Um, Snoop has the right to his opinion. It's just that you have to pay the consequences. Snoop is too media savvy to make a comment like that, I would think. But obviously not, because he said it. Let me leave it at that before I get canceled. um, this is interesting. Chris Morale says these days older rappers seem like it's love fest. So we're through lying back. So we're through lying back then when they were calling out folks are lying now. I don't understand what you mean. Folks seemed so sincere then. It was like you could tell who was the target. No, it was BS back in the day too. It was a lot of BS back in the 90s. There was a lot of BS in the 80s. Jealousy, hating, um, older cats hating on the younger cats. And Chris was just telling me, I was talking to him when I said on his birthday, he was just telling me a story about when he was first starting, Boogie Down Productions was first starting with their first single, and they were getting some resistance and even sabotage from older acts. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So even like that new wave that came in '86, the KRS, Rakim, Kane, that wave. And I can't speak for those two guys, but I can speak for BDP. There was some old school artists that weren't excited to see new guys come in. And in the '90s was super competitive. Um, some people were real and some people aren't. Just like in any job, just like anywhere else. Uh, I always try to be uh what's the word I'm looking for? Genuine with the people that I cool with, you know. And when I tell you, when I'm on here and I tell you certain people are family, that means we have a long history of good vibrations. So when I tell you somebody's my brother or I tell you somebody's family, that means a lot because we've had a long history. We're talking 30 plus years of seeing a person over and over, so you get a feel. Then there's, like I said, there's people that don't check for you, and there's nothing you can do. It's okay not to check for somebody. It's okay for people not to like people, man. Patrick Watts says, I listened to Still Number One today. After KRS said Kenny Parker is down with us. Yeah, I do believe you mean the remix, the numero uno remix. I was in the studio when he recorded that. Down with us, he then said, but Mr. Magic ain't down with us. Yep. Then after Magic, it was Public Enemy is down with us. Magic hated that. I'm sure he did. This was '88, so you got to figure this is only 1 year removed from all of the bridges over and all of that stuff. Plus, Magic said a lot of stuff, man. When Scott LaRock passed, Magic said some real nasty things about him on the radio after he passed. So, Magic deserved whatever he got, in my opinion. Now, like I said, I've met Magic years later. He was mad cool. But, I know the type of person that he was. Rest in peace to Mr. Magic. Not trying to diss, but I'm just saying. He said a lot of things. So when things came back at him, he had to deal with it. Kane dissed him in a record. Juice Crew Kane. City Rose says LL was the first rap superstar. Yeah, I mean, they say Curtis Blow was the first rap star, but rap wasn't even at that level to me, even though The Breaks was the first certified gold record. I think Sugar Hill Rappers Delight was certified later on, but Curtis Blow was the first rapper signed to a major label. The Breaks was the first record to go gold single in 1980 is gigantic. Um, but rap, I don't think he was a superstar because rap wasn't in superstar level. But if you're gonna say rap for 1980, I would say Curtis Blow was the first superstar. But I think LL was the first. No, Run DMC was the first superstars. LL was the first solo superstar. Explicit Hip Hop says, shout out to DJ Kenny Parker and his supporters. Yes, shout out to everybody. It's a family we got going on here. Canera, LL has earned the right, in my opinion, has earned the right, in my opinion, to call himself the overall GOAT, whether you like him or not. Absolutely, he does. I think LL Cool J might be the most underrated rapper of all time. Because when you have any greatest of all time conversations, LL Cool J has to be mentioned in that conversation. I'm not saying he's the greatest of all time, but you have to talk about him. You have to. He has earned that right. Hell yeah. Um, yeah, B-Boy Jones says Curtis Blow was actually the first rap superstar. I think he was the first rap star. Like I said, superstar. Rap wasn't big enough for a superstar yet. Blaze Universal says, "What up, KP? Love how consistent you are with your live streams. Thank you so much. This is live stream 111, I believe, and 109 of them are in a row. So we rocking 109 weeks in a row. We rocking, and we're doing Fridays too. Let's go. If y'all gonna rock with me, I'm here." Uh, Gregory Nettis, this says the Ice Cube War of the Worlds is really horrible. Oh my God. um, I wanted to give it a chance, but the reviews and the comments were so overwhelmingly negative that it scared me from watching it. And I love the War of the Worlds. Like I said, I love the one with Tom Cruise. I love the one from the 50s, and even the radio show that Orson Welles did that started it off, that caused mass hysteria in America. I got to hear clips of that. So I love that concept. And I believe that War of the Worlds concept is coming. I believe disclosure is coming, and uh it's gonna alter society. Uh, Blaze Universal says, KP, after learning the SP1200, you ever pick up any other instruments, keys, bass, etc.? Yes, keys, keyboards. I've added keyboard sounds to quite a few things. Some of the beats, like the beat I just put up, 3 a.m. smooth. There's keyboards in that I play around with. I'm not like a great keyboard player by any means, but I'll dabble a little bit to enhance a sample. Absolutely. On the keyboards, with keyboards, you have everything: bass, brass, guitar, whatever you need. And sometimes I'll get a sound on the SP1200, and I will play around with the sounds like a keyboard and make my own patterns, if that counts. We already saw that from CMC. Vincent Ross says, "Good evening, DJ Kenny Parker. Why wasn't LL in the Hill video?" When we get KRS on here, he'll answer that. Terrell McMillan says, "KP, check it. Willie D of the Ghetto Boys is now the face of Cracker Barrel, and he stated that they could use his face on one condition, besides the bag that if any racist happenings going on, he cracked the whip." It's funny how far hip hop has come, man. I remember KRS did the commercial for Sprite, KRS and Red Alert on one side, and I believe Shan and Molly Mall on the other side, and they recreated the bridge battle. And KRS got so much heat for selling out, doing a commercial with Sprite. That was in like 91, I think it was. 92. He did a commercial with Sprite, and it was like hip hop should not be part of any commercials. Now look how far we've come. Dudes woke up and realized that there was a gigantic bag out there to get. And these companies really wanted to get in partnership with the hip hop culture because they saw that that's what the kids were listening to and that was moving the culture. And they wanted to get in partnership with it. And the bag was too irresistible. And people's mindset, I guess, has changed. But I remember a huge backlash when KRS did that commercial. Christopher Corwell says Spoonie G was a dope ass early days of hip hop. Absolutely, Spoonie G is one of my all time favorites. Spoonie Spoon. Remember Take It Off? I'm jumping up to like 87, but I think Marley did that beat for him. He was still dope at 87. He did The Godfather. He had the song The Godfather, which used to play on New York City radio in the daytime. That record was on rotation on Kiss FM. The Godfather. And then he had Take It Off. Now you call my house and you said come over. And Red used to cut that part. Now you call my house and you said come over. Now you call my house and you said come over. Shout out to Spoonie Spoon, whom I've never met. JT says, arguable that Melly Mel was or Curtis Blow the first rap superstar. Don't forget Mel had the message and guested on Shaka Khan's huge hit I Feel For You, but did anybody even know what they looked like? The message was huge song, but the video, I know MTV didn't play it. That video was only on small local outlets. I don't think Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, because you didn't even know the people's names like that unless you were a real hip hop head. By the way, my favorite Furious Five member is Cowboy. Um, but you knew Grandmaster Flash more than you knew the other members of the Furious Five. Uh, and then by the time Shaka Khan came out, was he even in that video? I don't think so. And he didn't say his name either. I'm gonna go with Curtis Blow on this one. I'm going Kurt Blow as the first rap star, and LL as the first rap superstar. Dre Stack Dollar says Tyson Beckford says he was a lowlife. Tyson, first of all, Tyson Beckford is family. That's my dude. I knew Tyson Beckford from before he was a model. He used to be a dude running around in the club. And of course, like we know, we've talked about a million times on this channel, I was in the club all the time. And so you start to see the same people each week. And Tyson Beckford used to get his party on before he was the model and got discovered. I think he got discovered in Washington Square Park or something, just walking around. Somebody was like, yo, you right there, you need to be in pictures. um, I could see him being a low life. He used to be in the club with like basketball jerseys on with his muscles in the party. I remember very well. That's my dude. Love Tyson Beckford. Super cool hip hop head. And trust when he talks about, I've seen some of his conversation on, I think it was the Breakfast Club. Trust that when he's talking about being around New York and being in places, he was in places. Because I used to see him all the time. Jason Wall says the EPMD debut record, and It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back came out in like a week or two of each other. 88 was brutal on your pocketbook, man. It seemed like every week a monster all-time classic album was dropping, man. I used to go around with my friends trying to get dubs, man. I couldn't even keep up. I had some albums, and my boy will have an album, and we'll get a dub, or we'll swap. Or sometimes you get a dub of a dub. Remember that? A dub of a dub. After a while, the hissing be so loud you could barely hear the music because you just kept getting dubs of dubs of dubs. But I had a lot of dubs back there, but it was hard to keep up, man. Albums were like what, 8.99, 9.99, something like that in 88. $10 a pop, times you had to have at least 20 or 30 of these albums. I try not to watch this. I haven't watched this. I feel it's a little cringeworthy because I don't know if they'll understand. But MMA says, Kenny, what do you think of the young influencers on YouTube listening to 80s and 90s rap and R&B songs and reacting? I think they can't have a reaction because they will never understand what these songs meant at the time. We're so far removed, and there's so much music, so much people who were influenced by a person who were influenced by a person who they finally get to see the third iteration of an artist that people will never understand the impact. That's why you have people out here talking about comparing anybody from today to Michael Jackson means you have no idea what it was like when Off the Wall was out. Forget Thriller. You have no idea what it was like when Off the Wall dropped. You can't understand. So these people that's reacting, I guess it's cool. I never watch it. I guess it's cool, but they can't understand. It'll be like me trying to watch Little Richard or something and somebody trying to explain to me like this was like nothing we ever seen before. Dude playing the piano with his feet, singing Tutti Frutti, and this is what started rock and roll. I could understand only because I'm old enough to kind of understand, but I wasn't even born. So can I really understand? You know, uh, what Ray Charles really did? Like that movie Ray really opened up a lot of eyes to just how innovative he really was, marrying gospel and R&B. But I can't really understand it unless I was there. So that's my answer. If you weren't there, you might not understand. That's why a lot of these kids say stupid stuff out of their mouth. Big Back says, weren't the lowlifes in the Out of Here video? I don't know. I was not there. I was not in the Out of Here video. Um, I'm falling behind. MK Ultra says, scroll down to find the Doyles. I think I'm going to do a Benny Doyle honorary scroll down, even if he's not here. And I'm going to jump. I'm going to jump 30 comments, and I'm going to land right here. MK Ultra says, KP for president in 2028. I think I could do a good job, actually. Um, I think I could do a good domestic job. I think I could do as good a job as the people that we have in office now on both sides of the aisle. These people have done a horrible job. I don't know if my foreign policy would be that great because I don't know if I would have the stomach to cause the end of thousands of people. I could just give the green light and thousands of people will be out, or give the green light and cut aid and it's going to affect millions of people. Like, I don't know if I have the stomach for that. So for that part, I probably would not be a good president. But domestically, I think I could do this, as everyone does. But um, I really try to stay off of politics on this channel. I think hip hop is bigger and more exciting than politics. But every once in a while, I'll give my opinion. Um, Betty Doyle is actually here. Just a quick base touch. I got it on the speaker. Tomorrow is 37 years to the day that Scott LaRock passed. Wow. Didn't realize it. I found out a few days after. Um, let's see. J Sec Dollar says LL can never not be liked. You just gotta be a hater if you ain't fresh. If you ain't feeling Uncle L's hip hop's original unk. Yeah, I mean, anybody who makes a lot of girl records, guys are gonna hate on them for that. I think a lot of LL's hate comes from just the fact that he made records catered to women. He just didn't stay in Jack the Ripper mode all the time. Um, but LL really set the table for how to make records catered towards women. He really set the table, which is felt even to this day. His influence on that genre, love rap, I'm gonna call it, is immeasurable. And yeah, he doesn't get the credit. But you have to be old enough to understand that a guy like, say, a Drake, he is a child of LL. But you'd have to be old enough to understand that. Patrick Wise says Funky Four plus One More was the first star rap group. If you performed on SNL, that was huge. Yes. I wouldn't say they were a star rap group. I said I think they had a hot song. You couldn't name the Funky Four. I mean, you could, Patrick Wise, but the average person, Shy Rock was the name that everybody would remember. She was the female MC. She was the first female star. She birthed everybody. Um, but outside of Shy Rock, and you had to be a hip hop head to know Shy Rock. You wouldn't know the other Funky Four. I don't know if they were a superstar star rap group. I think they had a big record. It's the Joint was big in New York. I don't know how it was around the world, around the country, but I know it was big in New York. And that Saturday Night Live is in New York, and all the record companies are in New York. So you could see how, you know, the powers that be might be able to finagle that. I don't know who their manager was, but that was huge. They were the first rap group to perform on Saturday Night Live. That was huge. Shout out to Shy Rock. I got to do her show. Shy Rock and Grandmaster Caz has a show on Sirius XM, and they had me on as a guest. And she's very, very nice woman. Uh, Scuba says, "What up, KP? What up?" The Big Daddy Kane versus Dolomite skit was cool too. I don't remember that. The only Dolomite skit I remember is Eric being Rakim in the beginning of the Ghetto video with Dolomite. And some kid was calling him old, and he was like, "You don't even know who I am. Ask your mama and daddy about Dolomite." Something like that, he said. Oh, man. Def Rocker says people actually thought the Orson Welles story was real. Yeah. The original War of the Worlds, back when there was no television, or barely anyone had a television, radio was everything. And Orson Welles and his team did a play on the radio about an invasion from another planet. And at the beginning, he said, this is only a play. It's not real, basically, but nobody heard the beginning. They only clicked on the radio and heard him acting out a real invasion. And the 911 calls flooded the police. People were coming outside with their shotties. It was crazy. And like swept the whole, I believe, the Northeast. Everybody that was listening to the radio, it was panic and hysteria. They had to tell people that no, there is not an alien invasion. Shout out to Orson Welles. And then they turned that into a movie, The War of the Worlds story. Getting Baked Confessions said, Kenny, it says, if you could play any instrument, which would it be, KP? Well, I used to play the trombone in grammar school. I was actually in the school band. But right now, if I could play any instrument, like I said, I'd love to be a keyboard player because the amount of, with synthesizers and keyboards, the amount of different sounds that you have access to. And if you're able to play fluently, then you can manipulate an endless amount of sounds. Um, that I would like to be able to do, to be able to play keys. Jamal, I don't know if I say your name right. It's Jamal or Jamil Live. I'm glad that you speak the facts on KRS BDP in yourself to always clear out rumors and false or made up news. I try to as much as I can. Like I've said this before, but those that's just new to the channel. When I talk about BDP, I will say either what I saw or what I heard from a reliable source, or sometimes I'll say that's a question better left for KRS to answer. Sometimes I know the answer, but it's not my place to say. I think that KRS could say it better. Or sometimes people ask me questions like, whatever happened to so and so from the group? I'll know the answer, but I'd rather they tell their own story. If they want to tell it the way they understand it, that'd be better, you know. But I kind of have a lot of the answers to a lot of the questions, but I stay in my lane. But some things, if I saw it, I'll tell you. Gregory Nettis says Tom Cruise War of the Worlds is classic. Yes. Um, Spook Realm says Mr. Fingerman in the building in KP's Shaba voice. Shaba. He had a deep, deep voice, man. Big up to Shaba Ranks. I haven't seen him in decades. How great would it be to have Shaba to interview him, to talk about hip hop? If I brought Shaba on, I would talk about his dance hall influence, but I'd like to talk about hip hop. Um, how great would that be? Terrence Hill says, I really like that KRS Shan Sprite commercial. Yeah, I thought it was a nice representation of hip hop, but trust me, it did not, was not received well. Blaze Universal, KP, what company is the biggest sponsor user of hip hop for their benefit? Sprite, Adidas, New Balance, who? That's a good question because I'm not sure. I think Timberland has benefited tremendously from hip hop. And I remember they were trying to distance themselves from hip hop for a moment. They should have got boycotted then. I remember they were trying to distance themselves. They said something to the fact that we make boots for everybody, or we don't make boots for hip hop, we make boots for everybody. Something like that, which is true. But the hip hop community and fashion world, I would say double or tripled Timberland boot sales. Because imagine an actual person who uses a Timberland boot for work, you might have one Timberland boot for a year or two. I used to have a different pair of Timbs every month. If a month goes by and I said same pair of Timbs, I'll switch out. I used to buy at least maybe 10 pairs of Timbs a year, just me. I had every color, every style, and everybody in the party. I remember going to the clubs, you go to the tunnel, and every dude had Tim's on, the whole party. So it's like They were trying to distance themselves from Timberland. I mean, from hip hop. If Timberland had have embraced hip hop, I think it could have even took it even further. Uh, I think who else would I say used hip hop a lot? Because hip hop shouted out a lot of people that never used hip hop, like Versace and that whole era, Gucci this and Versace that. They never like sponsored a rapper, to my knowledge. Made commercials with rappers. Look, everybody, this is so and so dripped in Louis Vuitton. I never saw that. And rappers, we just love shouting out that those designer brands. They benefited once again. I mean, they've been around 100 years, and they're gonna be great regardless. But the hip hop culture really made having that kind of stuff special. Um, I'd have to think about it. That's a great question, Blaze. I'd have to think about that. Who really benefited from hip hop? Like really, really. Because if you used hip hop properly, you could have got a lot out of it. Even like the sports, like the NBA shunned the hip hop culture. Remember when Allen Iverson, I admit he took it real far, but remember when Allen Iverson and certain dudes copied him and started bringing the hip hop culture fashion into the NBA, and David Stern was not having it. He put a dress code in place. Um, Philly Shees said The Godfather was fire. Yeah, Spoonie Spoon was dope in 87. I mean, he came out in 79 and was still dope in 87. That's 8 years. That's an elite MC. If we first heard you in 1 year and 8 years later you could have a hit, that means you were dope. I've answered this question a bunch of times, but I'm going to answer it real quick. David Olson says, Kenny, where is Harmony? I have no idea. I have not seen Harmony in at least 32, 33 years. And was she Miss Melody's sister? Yes, she was. That's Miss Melody's sister, Harmony. I haven't seen her since probably like 91. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Christopher Caldwell says, I really wish that Willie D Live would bring you on or vice versa. That way you would kill it. Thanks. I appreciate that. I've never met Willie D. Um, he's doing big things over there. Shout out to him. Um, I would love for him to come on and me come on there. He has a huge platform. I'd love to go on his platform. His platform is like 10 times the size of mine. Uh, and just talk. B-Boy Jones says, what if the Furious Five's fashion would have caught on in hip hop? Oh Lord. Um, that would have been interesting, to say the least. I'm just gonna leave that there. Rosmel says MTV didn't play rap videos till 85. Yeah. I think 84. Rock Box, I believe, by Run DMC broke the door down. It was Rock Box. And I believe they had to like threaten them, like, if you don't play this, you're not gonna get this, or something like that. But Rock Box, Run DMC broke down every door for hip hop. But it was Rock Box. Um, I believe that it was the first MTV rap song played, I believe. Oh, J Stack Dollars, that's exactly what I said. 83, 84, actually, with Run DMC being the forerunners to break MTV. Yeah, Rock Box. What a great song. Shout out to Larry Smith. I see my boy Rashard Ringo Smith, my brother. Um, is looking to do a documentary on the great producer Larry Smith. I would love to see how that turns out. Big up Rashad Smith. I tried to call him the other day. I think I got a bad number on him. Rashad, reach out to me, man. Great producer, great digger of records. He might be the digger of record, legendary record digger, Rashad Smith. CMCs, thank you so much. Again, the success of Slick Rick's career, did it possibly overshadow Dana Dane's potential? I don't know, maybe, because look, they were all a crew together, right? Then Slick Rick came with The Show and Lottie Dottie, the greatest rap 12-inch of all time. And massive record, biggest record of the year, 85. And then I believe Nightmares came what, 86? And then Dana Dane dropped his first album, which went gold. Don't sleep. Dana Dane went gold in 87. He was huge. He had a string of hits. Dana Dane with Fame. That's my brother too. I'm telling these people, these are my dogs. Dana Dane is my dog. Big up Fort Greene, Brooklyn. Um, then Slick Rick came back in 88 with The Great Adventures. Now I know Dana Dane has done more music after that, but it seemed like he never recaptured the magic of his first album. So maybe Slick Rick's career did overshadow Dana Dane's potential. There's an argument there. Not sure, but there's an argument for that. Um, Let me scroll down a little bit. See somebody mentioned Schoolie D. Big up Schoolie D. I met him once. Gergen Edison, Tyson Beckford was in the Raekwon ice cream video. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Tyson Beckford, that's a cool brother, man. If you ever get to see him, any of y'all ever see Tyson Beckford, just tell him Kenny Parker said what's up and it was okay to walk up to him. Oh man. Kevin Smith, thank you for agreeing. So I must agree with KP on this one. I think Curtis Blow may have paved the way for LL to be a superstar, but I don't feel like hip hop had reached a point where its members had reached the masses like that. I agree. That's my argument. Um, Curtis Blow was as big as he could have been in 1980, but L was like double platinum in 87. His first album, Radio, went platinum. You know how hard that is? And the women loved him. MTV loved him too. Um, yeah, thanks for clearing this up. El Tico says Run DMC Rock Box was the first rap video on MTV. Yeah, I was correct. Um, B-Boy Joseph says, Kenny, were you out of there for out of there? Yeah, I was, forgot what I was doing at the time, but I couldn't make the video. I was at the Sound of the Police video, but it was just KRS. Um, they were just filming him solo. So I was just sitting and watching. I was at that video though. Of course, and then the third video off that album was I didn't understand they made a whole like collage of like 5 or 6 songs off the album. Although I thought it was artistically nicely done, I thought they needed a real third single. Like pick one and make it the third single. I think that hurt the album. I think Jive messed up Return of the Boom Bap so bad. They messed up all his albums. Said I'm gonna do a rant about that one day, but I'm not gonna do it today. But I think Jive did a horrible job with KRS-One. Brand Yakubian, hi Kenny. Are you going to see the new Fantastic Four movie? Of course. I'm really, really late. I mean, is it still in movie theaters? I'm really late. Yeah, of course. I'm Marvel down, but some of these Marvel movies I have no interest in seeing, but that I do. Bebo Jones has said, if only we were going to have an election in 2028. You know, that's the next question. Let's see. Let's see. JT says, I think youngsters are more into feels or emotion of rap nowadays. Style and substance came after, way after. Kendrick has brought back a bit of substance, but it's a struggle, yeah. But I don't even know what the emotion. I know the feel of that trap music, and the 16th notes, hi hats, 16th, 16ths hi hat. That's what they like to bounce their head to. But what is the emotion? Incoherent lyrics, auto tune, and incoherent lyrics. I don't even know what the emotion is. I agree with you. I'm just saying, for me as an older guy, I don't even know what the emotion is. I couldn't even tell you, man. Um, let's see. I'm looking at you guys. You guys be having like your own private conversations in these chats, which is good. Beyond the Matrix says LL is a hip hop iconic legend. All that. I'm way behind too. Not way, but well, yeah, I kind of am way behind. Uh, Explicit Hip Hop says, I guess you mean I don't compare Drake to LL only because LL could truly battle and Drake avoided many battles. I don't know if Drake avoided many battles. You can't battle everybody. I think Drake was very strategic about the people he chose to battle, and he battled Meek. He was more like when you're at a certain level, you elevate someone else by just saying their name. And I think you got to be very smart not to get involved with people who you would build up. They could build them up to be your equal by getting in a conflict with them. But Drake and Meek Mill, I think that's somebody who he decided he wanted to go after. And I give him a lot of credit for going at Kendrick. They went toe to toe. Drake did not hide. Drake said the whole time, years before, if you want it, let's go. Kendrick said, finally, I want it. And I give Drake the ultimate respect for saying, let's go. He didn't have to. He could have ducked that. He probably wish he should have. He probably right now questioning whether he should or would have, could have. But he put it all on the line as an MC, as a true MC, and things didn't really go his way. But I respect him for getting in the arena. Um, Drake avoided battles, but I think he was strategic in the battles he avoided. Some people, you can't just answer every single thing. And, for some people, dissing Drake and getting a response, that's a come up. That puts you on the map. He's smart not to answer certain people. I respect him for getting in there. Even if he lost, I respect him for getting in there, man. Anathema says, KP, who was your favorite break dancer when you were young in the Bronx? When I was in the Bronx, it was probably before breaking. I was a little child. So I didn't have a favorite breaker when I was in the Bronx. Um, break dancing really came on my radar in like 80, 81, like that. There's a dude named Pop. Let's shout out Gary. We called him Pop because he used to pop a lot in like 80, 81. He was nice. Um, he was the first person I really knew who was breaking. So I didn't really have like a favorite breaker back then. Because I lived in the Bronx probably before breaking was even popular. I'm gonna scroll all the way down now. Sorry, y'all, I'm missing 100 comments, but I'm just gonna keep it moving. This is probably the hardest part of the whole night for me is scrolling down and skipping comments because there's good stuff in here. I just can't see everything. Charles 13X says, I don't respect no rapper that gets behind a machine. I don't know what that means. Please put some clarity on that. Philly She says the emotion is trauma. Are you talking about like drill rap? Um, LL dissed Wyclef. Yes, he did, because Wyclef was producing cannabis. Shout out to Wyclef. B-Boy Jones says Drake is 0-2 in his last two battles. Who else did he battle? Kenneth Smith says Cinderella was a monster. Yeah, Cinderella, Dana Dane. That was big too. Every party for a very long time. This Beat the Death Beat and Delancey Street was my joints too. Yeah. Yo, going to Delancey Street was so scary, man. For those that's not from New York, there's a street, um, there's a street in the Lower East Side where it was like a 2 block long street and they sold all the coats, all the leathers, all of the sheepskins, leather goose bombers, any kind of nice coats you wanted. You could go on this area and then you can get it for cheap. You could even bargain with the guy because there was like 15 or 20 stores on a 2 block radius. It was really the street is really Orchard Street. Orchard Street off Delancey Street. But we called it Delancey Street, but it was really Orchard off Delancey. And you had to really be thorough to go get a coat down there because, of course, Brooklyn knew that everybody was going there to get coats. And you go get your coat, you pay your money, and you come out the store, and there they were. So going to Delancey Street was a real adventure. I went to Delancey Street a couple times in my youth. I bought a leather goose bomber. Remember leather goose bombers? I bought a couple jackets off of Delancey Street. You get the hat and everything, the gloves. But yeah, when he talks about Delancey Street, that was a in the hood. And it wasn't even in the hood. At Lower East Side at that point was not the hood. It wasn't in a hood neighborhood. I mean, the Lower East Side is hood, but that particular area wasn't that hood. It was just that dudes would come there because they knew people was coming there with money. Um, Shout out Dan and Dan. Yeah, that album had a lot of records on it. Jason Wall says, didn't KRS say Shan would have won the battle if he just didn't respond back? If who didn't respond back? I don't think there's any scenario where Shan would have won that battle. I think Kill That Noise needed to be dope, but they didn't take BDP serious enough. And Shan, just like I was saying, Shan was saying in Kill That Noise that these new suckers, BDP, were trying to use his name to come up. And he addressed BDP in the last verse of Kill That Noise, but I guess he was not trying to give them enough juice to even put them on the level of the Juice Crew and Shan. And I think he made a mistake. I think he should have took KRS more serious after South Bronx. After the bridge is over, it was done. There's nothing he could have done. he would have had to have dropped an equally historic record to be even with the bridges over. It was done. And when I talk about how young people don't understand, if you are of a certain age, young, and I'm gonna say if you weren't living in the New York area, you might not understand when the Bridge Is Over dropped what really happened in hip hop when that record came out in 80, end of 86, early 87. Game changer. But it hit like a bomb. It was like, oh my God, what is this? And I think Shan was done after that. He should have took South Bronx more seriously, in my opinion. Um, Philly She says Drake battled Common, Meek, Pusha T, and Kendrick. I think he just do darts at Pusha, but yeah, I ain't even a fan of his at all. But he didn't duck battles. Yeah, that's my argument. He never ducked. He'll say some things too. Like he had a lot of subliminals against a lot of people. Um, I never seen Drake ducking, and he didn't have to. He could have easily ducked and just made his hit records and got his money. He wanted to be in that mix, which is dope. But you keep rolling the dice. Kendrick came with the right record, and here we go. Def record. Drake is whack. We're not talking about whether Drake is dope or whack. We're just talking about whether he decided to get into the arena, and he did. He did. Um, Canera says KRS did that to Shan. Shan did not have to respond, but he did, and look where we at now. Yeah, I mean, so you're saying if Shan didn't respond to the South Bronx, there would have been no bridges over. I agree with that. Although Chris had the Bridges Over beat, the Bridges Over beat would have still came out. It would have just been different. It wouldn't have been, it'd have been a different song. Wonder what else could have been on that Bridges Over beat that Chris had in the stash back then. Oh my goodness. Um, but yeah, Shan chose to respond to South Bronx, but not in a way that really hurt BDP. He should have responded and had something on deck. He should have said, like, once I say this and they come back, I'm ready. He just wasn't ready for anything else. I'm still going to say he did not take them serious enough. He's on the end of that record laughing. KRS and Scott Rock, ha ha ha. He's laughing on the end of Kill That Noise. He should have took them more serious. Then again, KRS-One was a homeless guy. Why would you take this homeless dude serious? But he should have, in hindsight. Dartmouth says, do you think an underground backpack wearing boom bap fundamentalist would ever consider listening to Drake? Emphatically, no. I agree, but I think that's the wrong approach. You should study everybody. I try to look and see what makes people popular. Why did this work and why didn't this work? Because I'm gonna say something which I think is an unpopular opinion. I'm gonna get some heat for this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. A lot of these underground backpack wearing boom bap fundamentalists really want a hit record. They A lot of them talk that backpack stuff because they never had a hit or they can't make a hit. And so they shun a person who did. Now, some people genuinely just want to stay in that zone, and I respect that zone. We've made a lot of records in that zone. We've done a lot of shows in that zone. We're in that zone, BDP. But I've seen backpackers catch a hit record and seen what a hit record did for their career and chase that hit record all the way for the rest of their career. If you were a true backpacker, you would say a boom bap fundamentalist, you would say, well, I caught a hit record, but that's not really me. Y'all happen to like it, but cool. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm making my backpack records and that's it. How many of them you've seen switch up? I've seen most of them switch up. So would they listen to Drake? I think some of them emphatically no. I think some of them on the low would listen, but I think you should listen to see, just to study, like what makes this person successful. Even if you're not going to do it, study it. Because the same person that they say wouldn't listen to Drake back in those days, they wouldn't listen to LL either. LL was Drake. We're not listening to LL. We're not listening to anything that's not hard drums and crackly sounds and scratching. But we just refuse. I'm not refusing any music. I want to hear it all. I know I'm going to get some heat for this, but I've been around the backpack community enough to know that a lot of them be fronting too. They're the gatekeepers of keeping it real, but let them catch a hit record and watch what happens. And are we in overtime? Yes, we are. We're in overtime. I'm gonna go a little longer. MK Ultra says, as a native tongue fan, thoughts on Chi Ali? Well, first of all, shout out to Chi Ali. I remember him being a kid, being around. Shout out to him. I saw him a couple years ago as a grown man. He had a tough uh, adulthood, as we all know. I'm not going to go into his personal, but um, I think Black Sheep was producing him, and one of his singles was he sampled "Criminal Minded." The girls look so good, but their brain is not something like that. Um, I thought he was cool. He needed a big one. Like, kid rap, he needed a big one. It's not easy to break a kid rapper. Kid rappers, to me, child rappers, they're either all or nothing. They're either going to be crisscross, Bow Wow, or somebody gigantic, or you're going to be not really blow up. There's no middle with them, to me. Um, for the most part, I like the youngsters. Remember Cruise Pop? I used to like that. I was just talking to my man Jetta about that song a couple days ago. Um, Shout out to KG on the production. But yeah, I thought Chi Ali was cool. He needed a big record. You need a big record, man. I don't care who you are, tell you the truth. I like this comment. I really would leave it here, but I'm going to go a little longer. Mark Thompson, thank you, says KP seems like a decent man from the city of demons. Thank you. I appreciate it. I try to be. And New York is, I'm not going to call it a city of demons. You can, though, but it's just super, super competitive and grimy and tough. But it's my hometown and I love it. But yeah, I try to be decent. I try to be, but none of us are perfect. Rosmel says Delancey Street equals Ripoff Street. Hell yeah. Beyond the Matrix says I used to be on Delancey Street back in the 80s. Brian Mitchell says Drake used Rappin' Forte's who I know personally, used his lyrics from Players Club and had to pay him 100K. I saw that. For one lyric, he threw a one lyric cost him 100,000. But I think it was on a hot song though, so it was all good for everybody involved. Rebuffy says, I went to one of them stores, LOL, cardboard in the windows. You talking about Delancey Street? Um, let's see what just happened here. Uh, John Lee says, I like the youngsters back in the day. Shaheem is the best kid rapper ever. Uh, uh, it's possible. Sydney Rose, Vicious was Dougie Fresh. Yo, I'll tell you a funny story. We was at Arsenio, and for some reason, Little Vicious was there. He was a little kid. I think he had a cast on his foot because he had either shot himself or somebody had shot him in the foot. And he had a cast on his foot. He looked like he was like 10 years old. I remember he was dead, just walking around, limping around. And I remember I said some slick shit to him, like, what's up, little boy? Like, I said some little slick shit to him, and he was like, shut up before I bust you. Little Vicious said that to me at, I believe it was Arsenio. Shut up before I bust you. He was like 10 years old and had a cast on his foot. Shout out Vicious and family, Dougie Fresh. Rosamel says Chi Ali got rejected by Love and Hip Hop because of his case. Yeah. El Tico says Mobb Deep came out as kid rappers. And it took a minute for them to find their way, but as adult rappers, I guess, um, they did the thing. KB Play says technically LL was a kid rapper. He was 16 when radio dropped. Wow. I would say teen rapper. I'm going kid rapper meaning like 11, 10, and small looking. See, LL was 16, but he was strong. He looked 19, maybe. Because he had a young face. He just was developed. I'm talking Crisscross, ABC, the youngsters, Shaheem, like those are little kids, Vicious. Um, This is interesting, Bug. He says, I believe any artist would accept a hit record, but on their terms. The so-called backpackers wouldn't have minded if Who Got the Props became a hit. Actually, Who Got the Props was a rap hit. But I see what you're saying. Yeah, they'll take a hit. I guess it has to be big in the backpack world first. And then if it goes beyond that, that's cool. But if you have a hit and you skip their world, they're not going to accept it. And I'm saying they. I'm a backpacker as well, but I'm all things. Um, but I see your point. Um, but I would argue with these people, you have no idea what a hit record will really do for you. You cannot imagine the difference in your career from being a backpack rapper to having a modest, not a monster record, but a modest record that's getting radio play around the country. And you can book shows off of it. Crazy. JT says, have you paid the light bill, KP? No, I hit a button and the screen went in and came back out. Sorry about that, y'all. I didn't even know if y'all saw that, but I guess you did. Corey Flood says Special Ed is the best kid rapper ever. Well, Special Ed was in high school. Special Ed might have been like 16, 17 when I Got It Made came out. He was dope. I'm still going to say he's technically a little bit older. Um, Explicit says 16 is close to 18, not close to 5 or 10 years old. Yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm going that way, like really young. David Austin says Bow Wow definitely number one child rappers. If you look at his whole career, Mr. 106 in Park, I would say because Chris Cross probably had the biggest child rap song ever, Jump. And then they had a few records. Their first album sold 4 million. But then after that, as they got just a little bit older, they were more settled into the pack. They never had the success like the first album. But Bow Wow had multiple successes. I'm gonna say Bow Wow was the best child rapper. I would go with that. I'm going with that. Um, Sydney Rose says, "Sounds like Vicious earned his name." Yeah, I was just playing around with him because he was a little kid, but he didn't. He wasn't trying to hear me. uh, Gergen says, "Yo, Kenny, remember Break Machine Street Dance?" Vaguely. Scuba says Will Smith was kind of young too. I think he was like 18. They were teenagers. Um, I see the brat. The brat was a teenager. Sydney Rose says Black Moon would have blown up more. Nervous Records was not a lot of help. Now, I think Nervous Records did what they could. Nervous Records is an independent record label, a dance label. I believe Black Moon was the first rap group they ever had. Um, and I think based on what they were, an independent dance label, I think they did wonders with Black Moon. Now, if Black Moon was on Sony or even Jive or Warner Brothers, I think they would have been way bigger. But it is what it is. I'm gonna give Nervous a pass on that one. Um, let's see. Corey Flood said, "Who was rapping at 5, 10 years old?" Not that many people. I know that Bow Wow was on a skit talking about skits. He was on that Snoop skit. He was on Doggy Style, right? He had to be like 5 or 6. And Death Row wanted to sign him, if I recall. Bow Wow was cursing and everything, like 6 years old. Rosmel says, "I heard Bow Wow works for Walmart now." Yeah, I saw that. I think he's shooting a movie or doing something that was designed for him to be in Walmart. I don't think he works for Walmart. I think that was like something to do with some kind of movie or some kind of promotion that they're working on. Um, we're at 9:43. I'm going to jump off in a second, y'all. I just want to get some last little comments in. For those that's just new to the channel or just checking in, this is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. Um, Blaze Universal says, "Hot take, Cool It Now" by New Edition was the best kid rap. Well, Candy Girl might have been the best kid rap. If you're gonna take it all the way back to when they first started, they were like 14 and 15, still a little older, but yeah, Candy Girl was huge. Shout out to New Edition. Jason Wolf says Raven Simone was a young rapper. She was. She never had a hit, but Shantae was like 15, 14 when she made, and she looked it. You're right, Canera. Shantae was mad young when she made Roxanne's Revenge. She was mad young. Um, all right. Gregory Ness says we're going triple overtime. No. New Edition was in Crush Groove. They were. Gregory Netta says Illegal was good. They were good. I don't think they ever really blew like that, but they were good. All right, I'm gonna jump off. We are deep in the thick of overtime. Um, thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for hanging out with me last week when I was sick. We fought through it. Um, God willing, I will be back here Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, I'm gonna give me something to eat right now. I'm starving. All right. Let me see. I'm going to the very bottom. Last comments. Anyway, KP, did you ever wear your jeans backwards? Hell no. When Crisscross came out, I was grown. That's funny though. Oh my goodness. Peace out. Orin Hamilton says peace out, KP. Yes, peace out to y'all. Tracy, glad you're feeling better. Thank you, Tracy. All right, y'all. I'm out. I'll catch you guys in a couple days. Peace.